coffee cup in Blender. At least my style of this. And then I wrote some notes here in the notepad. So it's based off of using curves, mesh conversion, and then Boolean operations. We're going to merge a couple of 3D objects together to make the cup. So we would take away this cube that'd be there in the center. Then we're going to add a mesh. Let's look for a cylinder. And this cylinder doesn't look very smooth. And if we add more vertices on it to something like 200, it will allow us to do this smooth shading a lot easier much later. And we can leave the radius as 1 meter and the depth as 2 meters, and everything else that's default. Let's not change that. Now, let's go ahead and move this cylinder somewhere to the left. Now, what we need to do is add a curve. So the curve object is going to be the general shape of the handle. Let's see here. And we'll give it about 8 sides, and we need the radius to be about 0.6 meters, and then change the angle to about 180. The end angle to 180. And we need to change this to, let's see here. You can choose a 3D curve if you'd like. And then let's go ahead and rotate this by 90 degrees on the x-axis, and then 90 degrees on the y-axis as well. And let's see here, 90 degrees on the z-axis. So now it's going to fit nice and snug towards, or it's going to most likely face this mug that we're going to create. All right. So now we got that out of the way. Let's go ahead and go back to the cylinder really quick and then select it. Let's go to the edit mode and then use this face selection option here. Select the top face. I'm going to select the I key on the keyboard, which means to inset. And this will allow us to define the thickness of the wall for this cup. And you'll see that this face has been highlighted. And we're going to use this to extrude downwards. And before we do that, let's go to the mesh view. It's way up here on the right. And we can start to extrude downwards. And this will allow us to define this hole inside of the cylinder that's going to make the cup. And so now we have this general shape, general 3D shape of a cup. We can go back to the object mode. And then you can see now like half of the work has been done. All right, so next thing we need to do is go back to this curve that was initially created. And then while it's selected, let's go to the edit mode. And then go ahead and select these 2 vertices here on the left. And we're going to use this move key here. And then press the letter E to extrude it to the left somewhere. And let's see here. Let's use this snapping tool to make things easier and go to this side view here. There we go. Let's extrude it. Right about there. Let's go back to object mode, and it looks pretty good. Yeah. All right. So next thing we need to do is create a path, or create a shape that's going to sweep along this curve. So what we need to do is go to the add under the menu, and then go to curve rectangle, and then select these 2 vertices here on the top. Then let's see here, what we need to do is move it so that it looks actually like a rectangle. There you go. And the size doesn't matter for now because it's going to be parameterized, or more or less coupled to the shape here. We're going to do that here in a moment. So once I move that out of the way, I can go here and select the curve, and then go to this Data Properties tab, and then look for this option that says Geometry, and then look for a sub option that says Bevel, and then select Object here. You can see here on the right, and then go ahead and look for that rectangle. Use this picking icon to select this rectangle, and now you can see this extrusion that has been made. but it looks quite large. And in order to change the size on it, I mean, it's still coupled to it. I can select this rectangle and then press the S key to scale it up or down, and it will actually change the size of that or the thickness of the handle in real time. And you can pretty much change this to however thickness you'd like in real time before we convert it into a mesh. The mesh is basically what we're going to use to convert it into a 3D object so that these two could be merged. And then we get a nice full 3D cup. And I think that looks good right there. You can see here on the screen. All right. So the next thing we need to do is go here and then go to this object menu and then scroll down and look for Shade Auto Smooth. And that looks pretty good. Now we can do the same thing with this handle here. Object. We need to convert this into a mesh. So convert to mesh and then look for Shade Auto Smooth. See that? There you go. That's good. Now we need to smoothen out the edges here. The edge is really sharp on both of these shapes. So what we need to do is, while it's selected, go to the modifier option here, and then go to add modifier, and then type in bevel. And then you'll see that a bevel has been created. But it's not quite round like we would prefer. So let's change this to 20 segments. And it has been rounded, but let's go ahead and adjust this amount to about 0.05. And that looks pretty good. So let's go ahead and apply, go to this arrow icon and press apply. There we go. And then let's more or less do the same thing with this handle. Go to add modifier, select the bevel option, and then change this to 0.05, and then the number of segments to 20 segments. And that handle looks pretty good. So now let's go ahead and apply, and then let's move this part of the cup closer so that these two sections are overlapping pretty well. A little bit closer. Let's see here. Yeah, that's good. Okay, so the next thing we can do from here is actually apply the Boolean. So the Boolean is going to allow us to add these two together. So select this union option here, and then go to this selection here, this pick selection, and then you can sort of see this artifact on the screen, which means that there's a leftover that we can move out of the way. Let's go ahead and select apply, and we can actually move this cup somewhere to the left. Then you'll see this leftover or remainder that hasn't been moved yet. Let's move that, and then let's put this cup back in the view where the camera would normally see, and that looks pretty good. And we're done. So if I go to the camera view, you can see that if I zoom into this part of this object here, then, well, that leftover handle is still there. You can get rid of it, delete it. And then we can go here to the cup. And pretty much you'd be ready for applying whatever materials you would like. So in my case, I'm going to go ahead and just give an example of how it's going to render. I'm going to select the GPU options. We're going to go maybe 985 frames. I'm going to use the GPU for the denoising. And then the noise threshold, I'm going to make it 0. Let's see here. And then the film, I need to change this to 0.2. And then, let's see here, render region. And let's place this in the downloads folder. So accept. And I'm going to save this as a cup. Coffee cup 2025. It's great. So now I can go to the render preview, and you'll see that there's a default light that I have not gotten rid of. It's still there. And it's fine, I suppose, but we can do something better. So let's go to mesh and then add a torus object. We can add a twisted torus. We can move this up here somewhere and then scale it up. And we can use this twisted torus as a light source. So scale it up a little bit more. Move it up here. And I go to this material properties tab. And then add a new material. And I go straight down to emission. And we can change this to something like 20 and see what that looks like. Click on this camera icon so we can see what this object looks like. And we can add a material. Let's add a new material and then change the surface to something like glass BSDF. And so it kind of looks like frosted glass right now. We can change the roughness. And there you go. We're all set. And pretty much you can render it as is. It's the thing. You can also change the background color, whatever you'd like to do. It's available. Okay, so I'm gonna go ahead and render it. And that's the cup right there. Photorealistic rendering, ray tracing of a cup that we just generated. All right, and we're almost done with the final render. Boom. That looks pretty good. And you'll also notice that actually there is a shading option that I did with the denoising. Basically, I can have accurate pre-filtering or I can choose none. If you're seeing weird grains on the surface of the cup while using the GPU to basically denoise this image, you can select the pre-filter as none. That way it's a lot less picky. And then you can save it from there. But there you go. Happy New Year. Oh yeah, I wanted to try one more thing, and that is pretty much to say the word subscribe. And I realized that on YouTube, the subscribe button lights up. Let's see what that does. And also liking. Like button lights up as well. Anyways, I do have a Instagram page where this stuff is posted. There's renderings on there, in case you want to see that. Those are just renderings. There's no full tutorials, but just wanted to mention that. And then let's see, what else did I miss? I'm gonna be releasing some stuff on some quantum chip renderings. There's one that I'm still working on, and the thing is, it has to do with the Boolean operation that I was trying to do. It's such a massive design that it takes so much time to actually perform the Boolean, like we just did in the video. And for something that massive, requires time to do. We would have to section it off into tiny pieces to do it properly. So probably finish that later on, either today or sometime this week. So see you around.